Hi, Shaun. Thank you
Hey,
so much for joining Melan magazine.
not at all. Thank you for having me.
What's your cultural heritage, Shaun?
Well, the more recent is my dad was from Jamaica and my mum came from Grenada. Well, I won't tell you our mum's maiden name, but that was French. And dad, not that long ago, one half of his family is from, I believe, Calcutta,
Wow.
India.
Wow.
So, and you know,
I wasn't expecting that answer.
right, and the Indian married a Spaniard.
Wow.
So, we're a mishmash, and
Lovely. Um, where would you consider home? Where's home for you?
I don't know that I've ever found home. I mean, England is home, right?
Yeah.
But then, where do I feel at home? Well, when the sun's out, I realize I'm an island boy, meaning when the sun turns up, I'm a different person. So I know that about myself. I also know that anyone who has any country that has respect for the land, has respect for nature, wherever that country is, I feel at home there.
Wonderful. What first drew you to acting, Shaun?
Well, the funny thing is my mum was telling me a few weeks ago that she was sending me to these classes when I was 4 years old for varying reasons. I think I was quite hyperactive as a child. So she sent me to these classes when I was 4 years old. So as far as I know, I've been doing it unconsciously since then. And I've just followed my nose, because I always enjoyed it. Um, Whenever it came up as, let's say, a lesson in school,
Mm.
or whenever there was something outside of school that was to do with, getting up on stage and being silly or whatever else, I was there. And I've just never stopped getting up on stage and being silly. So
So an early start for you.
it was an early
So just
start.
diving into Mangrove now, what preparation did you do to take on such an iconic character as Frank Crichlow?
There was a lot going on. There's life, right? That prepares you, because the question being, let's say, could I have done this role 20 years ago? I think maybe, nothing, I could have, but life then prepares you in another way to understand things as you get older.
Yeah.
I've just been talking to a friend of mine and we've been laughing because I was sending a video out to various people all this year, and it's from a film called Falling Down. And someone said of Falling Down, like more recently now, um, they sent a kind of like a meme, which was watching Falling Down in your teens. You're thinking, what is this guy's beef? When you watch Falling Down and you're 15, you're watching it thinking, what's this guy's problem? Then you watch that film at 45 and
And
you
you
think,
can relate. It makes sense. What was it like working with a predominantly black cast and a director like Steve McQueen?
well, I've done that before, so so fortunately for me, it's always what happens. There's an element of you getting it, you knowing what's going on. It's hard to explain what that is, but there's an element of you know, you know what certain looks are, you know what certain the feeling is, you know when someone is giving you respect, you know when someone isn't. But the long and the short of it is when you work with people that you know on a level, let's say a DNA level, there's a lot of stuff that's unsaid, and that's not just from a black British point of view. That's from like everybody. Everyone understands their own. I mean, what I'm saying is very, very obvious. But that said, in this country, I don't think we've had much of a chance to explore that. So what's it like? It's like that. It's kind of like family. Not always in the best way, but in the way that says you understand certain things. So always great, but still has its challenges because you've still got to come up with the goods. Anything that takes you away from being able to perform, from when they say action, and it's your turn to to do your thing. just as long as nothing is getting in the way of that, we're good. So it was great, but it wasn't anything to dwell on. You weren't allowed to dwell on anything. How monumental playing a role like Frank is, or just how much responsibility, let's say, on your shoulders, considering his daughter, or playing your parents' and grandparents' generation, and how they haven't really had a voice, and so you can think about all of those things all the time, but it only helps for a moment, the moment of when you think those things, and then you have to do what you have to do as an actor, which is make sure that when they say action, you're ready. Yes, all of these things were amazing, but after a while, they settle into the background.
So the sets, the costumes in the film were also authentic. I just wanted to ask, what do you recall of the 70s?
Going to Cornwall and being looked at when I'm 7 years old, going to Butlins and having people having you being on the street and walking around somewhere in Butlins and people like that looking at you on the street like, yeah, we're black, okay, well, who cares? What do I remember about the 70s? Lego, being slightly hyperactive, and when my cousins came round, loving that, hearing politicians' speeches, and having my dad suck his teeth again at the fact that his business was going to be affected as a self-made man. The music, the wallpaper, everything was brown. And,
do you get a good vibe? Do you have a good vibe of that whole era?
Yeah, I mean, I have a good vibe about every era, really, because to be honest with you, I've always had nice people around me, fortunately for me, in my little
That's
bubble.
important. Do you think that, much has changed in the 50 years since, the whole Mangrove thing, in terms of against the backdrop of Black Lives Matter now? Does it feel like much has changed?
Well, quite obviously things have changed. Quite obviously. It would be dumb to say things haven't changed. It would be, not dumb, but it would be, things have changed. For the worse. No, I'm joking. I think things have changed. As I said the other day to someone, look, there was no Chiwetel. There was no Idris Elba when I was growing up. That's just a fact.
That's right.
There was no British black people affecting people on a worldwide level. I don't remember that when I was growing up. Maybe someone will come up with a name. Yes, we had the Darkest House, and yes, we had that movement back in the day, and they're kind of people that you remember, if you remember. How have things changed? There was no Obama when I was growing up. I mean, it would be silly, really, to say that things haven't changed. But so, on those levels, as I've said to someone recently, we're having what you might call the Me Too movement, in that, again, people are still talking about basic human rights. People are still at this point talking about, you can't do that now. You can't be like that now. It's not right. It never was right. But now people are being taken to task for the fact that you can't get away with it. So have things changed? Of course. As I say, it would be silly to sit here and say, nothing's changed. But we've come so far. Have we got so far to go? Maybe, yeah. Sure. Yeah, why not? Of course we do. So am I happy to see, though, that I can have the same conversation with you right now about the Mangrove as I can with someone else who might not be their heritage, in a very open way? Am I happy that that's happening? For sure. Do I believe that would have happened 30, 40 years ago? No. So again, do I think things have changed? Again, I think it would be silly. Say things haven't changed. I don't know where that would come from.
So bringing things more topical now, against the backdrop of racist reactions to the Sainsbury's ad, I'm sure you must have seen it.
No.
How important is it
I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, so Sainsbury's dropped in.
And I don't watch TV, and I don't watch the news.
That's very interesting. Can you explain why you don't?
I never understood the news. And I know that sounds weird, but I never did.
In what way don't you understand it? In terms of the prolific, bad sort of vibes, news, or you just didn't?
I'm a person that from very young to this day, I don't see what the news is talking about with my own eyes. 98% of what they talk about, I don't see.
Yeah.
So I never really rocked with it. I'd rather rock with Sesame Street or something. So that's just stayed with. It's not a political thing or whatever else. It's the idea that says I've never liked eggs. You know, it's not a trendy thing. It's not. Oh, why don't you like eggs? Is that a doctor? Did the doctor? No, I just never liked eggs. From like 3 years old. Adverts are I don't really watch TV these days.
Thinking of sort of icons past
But
and present.
please tell me about this Sainsbury's ad.
Well, they put on a really wholesome advert about, you know, a black family who a lady was talking about her dad's wonderful gravy. And it was just a really wholesome, warm advert. It was nice to see a black family just being. And it had an awful backlash on social media with lots of people commenting that, yeah, how dare Sainsbury's, and that they'll be shopping elsewhere going forward. And I think the reason why I was asking is why do you think it's important that we show these types of stories such as Mangrove, and sort of, you know, people like the scenes in the film where people were just coming to the, you know, the restaurant to have a nice time, eat some good food, and just to really see people, black people, just being, you know, without the sort of the background or the noise of, you know, race and all of that. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were in terms of the importance of showing that type of you know, imagery on mainstream media.
Yeah, I think it's important for many, many, many reasons, but more often than not, you know, understanding can be a route to love. In a way, can be an avenue. It isn't the only avenue, but it can be an avenue to love. What does that mean? Well, once we understand each other,
yeah.
When we see each other, you see each other from that angle of, I know what that is, or even though I don't know what that is, I am not afraid of it. It doesn't put me off. I am not afraid of it. I think the more that we see stuff, the more that we see things that we are not really used to, the more we come to an understanding. And if, you know, knowledge is power,
yes,
then, you know, let's go. But anyway, that's how I feel about understanding and knowledge and power. Knowledge is power. So the more we know about ourselves, the better.
yeah.
And the more we know about each other, the better, because maybe then we can elevate and move on to a next level of existence. And I know that sounds maybe kind of very Neo and Matrix or something, but the long and the short of it is that more often than not, even in a relationship, when you've overcome certain truths, you can be stronger than ever together. When you've come through the hard times and you've looked at each other with resentment and fear, and then as time's gone on, you start to look at each other with understanding and empathy, you find that then, as I say, thoughts can be elevated. You start thinking on another level, because where you were scared of something, now you're not. So the brain power that was used for fear can now be used for something else, you know? Again, maybe I'm going a little bit too deep there, but I think some shows like The Mangrove, I don't really know. I can't comment on that advert because I haven't seen it and I haven't seen any of them, not on any social media. So I don't really know what I'm thinking about. So I have to say that. It's the truth. But
that's fine.
I think things like The Mangrove.
That's fine. Just one final question. What projects are you working on next?
Well, I mean, I am doing Lost in Space. I'm going back to space for a moment, a little moment. But I am going back there. But yeah, the world is my oyster, as it were. I mean, it always has been. In terms of kind of, you know, I might do a film or TV or play, or I might not, or I might do something else, or make songs or something. You know, it just depends what projects come my way.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for talking to us, Shaun.